Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the Advanced Audit and Assurance September 23 exam review, and I'm Kashif Kamran. Just before starting the exam review, a disclaimer that this review is based on the initial student feedback I got from most of my students right after the September 23 exams were over, and primarily this feedback was generated over the WhatsApp group. So there is a chance that something could be wrong in it as well, because this is just based upon what the student said to me, and this has been analyzed. I conducted a student poll right after the AAA September 23 exams were over, and I would like to share the results of that before we investigate the section A and B of the paper. My first question to the student was that how was the paper? Was it difficult? Was it manageable? Or was it easy? So none of the student voted for being easy, and that's quite true. But 72% of the student voted the paper as manageable. And this is very similar to the previous exam settings where majority of the student votes in favor of paper being manageable or balanced. If you have done practice of the recent papers on the practice platform, there was no surprise element even in the September 23 AAA exam setting. 28% of the student thought it was a difficult paper, and that's quite a fair opinion because yes, it is a difficult paper, and mostly the difficulty in the paper comes down to an incomplete paper, the time management. And time management is the biggest challenge in the AAA paper. My next question was on time management, and I asked student what percentage of paper did they manage to complete. Just 8% of the student voted that they completed 100% paper. So you can manage how difficult time management is in the AAA paper. 46% of the students said they completed something in between 80 to 90%, which is not bad. So if you have done a good paper, a balanced paper of 80 to 85%, there are still significant chances you can pass the AAA paper, provided you have done good with the technical, with the professional marks in the paper, not just the technical marks. 38% of the students said they completed paper within the band of 90 to 95%. That's very good, because if you're just left with 5 to 6 marks of the paper, that's quite fair considering the challenge within 195 minutes and the pressure that is on you to write, write, and write. So I think in that sort of a concept, 38% students saying 90 to 95% of the paper, that's quite a good assessment, and you just need to keep yourself positive up to the day of exam. You will definitely pass. Now, moving away from the student feedback on time management and how difficult or manageable the paper was, let's investigate the section A of the September 23 exam paper. There was nothing unusual in the section A. If you have practiced the recent 5 to 6 papers on the practice platform, there was no surprise element in the section A. It was balanced, it was manageable, it was as per the previous trends of the question one we get in AAA. Nothing unusual. It was quite predicted by me on in my tips over the social media that business risk looks important for the September 23 exam, and it did came in. Business risk was important because there was no question around business risk in the June 23 exam setting, and that is the reason I analyzed this to be important for September 23. And almost in every variant of the AAA that was set for September 23, there were, I think, roughly 3 variants which came in. And each of the variant, there was a question on business risk for 10 marks. Apart from that, there was questions around audit risk and ROM, questions on procedures and ethics. So there was nothing unusual. You know, this is how the question one is basically set. So basically, there were 3 variants which were tested for AAA for September 23. We know papers are held in different time zones. So ACCA examining team make different papers. So this time there were like 3 sets of paper, and there were 3 sets of question number one which were put in. And all the 3 sets had business risk for 10 marks, audit risk or ROM for 16 marks, Procedures involving data analytics was in one of the set, not in all of the sets. But yes, all the sets had procedures, but one set had procedures involving data analytics. Now, I even told my students and on the social media as well that is there any current issue? And I said no, but I still said you should read data analytics article of the examiner, because in that article, examiner has given you examples of procedures on inventory through data analytics. So if anyone has read that or has watched my video on data analytics on my YouTube channel, you must have uh, controlled this question very well in exam paper, because this was just from the examiner article. And then there was a section about ethics. We know ethics is one of our favorite area of examiner in the question number 1. So nothing unusual in the first question. A business risk, ROM or audit risk. In certain papers we had ROM, in certain we had audit risk. I think in 2 of the sets we had ROM, in 1 set we had audit risk for 16 marks. Procedures in all the 3 sets, but in 1 set there was procedures around data analytics, and then ethics was in all the 3 sets of the question number 1, which was put in by the AAA examining team. So I didn't found anything unusual in the question number 1, a practice of the recent papers, and there was nothing unusual. I think in 2 sets of question number 1, the materiality was to be based on revenue, and in 1 set of the question number 1, the materiality was to be based on profit before tax. We even saw that in the June 23 exam, that the examiner emphasized on materiality using revenue as a threshold. So that's nothing unusual. Students should be prepared for any threshold coming in the question number 1. It could be total assets, profit, or revenue. But this time in 2 sets, there was revenue, and in 1 set, there was profit. I think in all the 3 cases, again, this is the student feedback, could be right or wrong. In all the 3 cases, the company was unlisted. Okay, now moving towards the section B of the paper. In the section B, reporting was very less examined. I think there was just like 5 to 6 marks of reporting implications or the impact of the opinion or the impact of the report, but majority chunk of the question we get from completion and reporting was either around evidence or matters or around the going concern. There was 1 set of paper examining going concern as well. So the reporting marks, that is the impact on the report or opinion, was very less. It was just like 5 marks out of the total 20 marks you have. And majority of the marks was on the areas like matters and evidence, which is the part of completion and reporting, syllabus area E basically. And one of the question has to be from that area in section B. So in terms of section B, reporting part was less. Mostly the marks was confined to matters and evidence question. One of the student or one set of the student reported me that the question 2 was something around a cash deficit, a decline of revenue, profit before tax declining compared to the last year. That was a summary of the scenario, and the question was asking for sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence the audit team had gathered on going concern, and evidence which has been omitted by the audit team. So you need to comment on the sufficiency of the evidence gained by the audit team on going concern, and have they omitted any evidence? And then there was a question asking for impact on the opinion, and that was probably around the MURGC section of the audit report. So there was a question around cash deficit, revenue decline, and PBT declining, and then the question setting around the going concern, comment on sufficiencies, and the impact on the opinion. There was another question in section B, which the student mentioned was around comment on the matters and evidence. And the comment on the matters and evidence was all around accounting areas like restructuring provision or property, plant, and equipment held for sale or operating cost as discontinued operation. And then there was a part impact on opinion and the audit report for just 4 marks. So a lot of those matters and evidences around accounting area came in 1 set of completion and reporting question in section B, with impact on opinion and audit report for just 4 marks. So these are 2 sets of questions which were around syllabus area E, completion and reporting stage, focusing on sufficiency or appropriateness of the evidence, or on comment on matters and evidence, with very less marks kept for reporting. Then there were questions in section B focusing on due diligence and forensics. One set of students got questions around payroll fraud, which was forensic. One set of students got questions around due diligence, and both questions had acceptance decision. Both questions had matters you need to decide accepting the engagement, and then it went down to other areas like procedures. Let's first look at the due diligence question in section B. As per the student, the question on due diligence asked for matters to consider before submitting the tender for 10 marks. Why warranty provision should be a focused area of due diligence. So there was any specific warranty provision in the scenario, and the examining team asked for that why warranty provision should be a focused area of due diligence, and then procedures on warranty provision. So again, a question focused on practice management, matters to consider before accepting the due diligence engagement, procedures, and why warranty is a focused area for due diligence. In another question, it was forensic. The question was around payroll fraud, and there was a forensic request. I think the insurance company in that scenario was willing to pay the loss, but they want an independent assessment of the loss. And for that independent assessment, the auditor was requested. So you had matters to consider before accepting the invitation to quantify the amount of fraud. On what better engagement should be accepted. So there was a specific section that on what matters you should accept the engagement, and then the procedures to quantify the amount of loss in payroll. So that was quite a typical forensic question with procedures to quantify and matters to accept. There was one thing unusual that was specifically asking on what matters engagement should be accepted. We know primarily you should accept engagement if there is no integrity issues. You should accept engagement when you are competent, because I think competence and independence are two very strong parameters of accepting an engagement and client integrity. So this was one of the question around forensic. So the bottom line is nothing unusual. Questions around due diligence, questions around forensic, very less reporting, but significant part was better at evidences. A recent practice of 5 to 6 papers, there was nothing out of them. It was as per the track record of AAA. Everything was very organized and structured. No unusual requirement, nothing unusual came in. Any student who have practiced uh, recent papers and have put time on recent papers, have reviewed recent examiner reports, you must not have found this paper difficult. And that's the reason 72% of the students said it was a manageable paper, despite time management being the biggest challenge in the AAA paper, which the students still faced, because just 8% students said they completed 100% paper. So that remains a challenge which still needs to be looked into. Apart from that, it was a very balanced paper. If you have any queries or any questions, you can just directly put me on my social media pages. You can reach me out with any queries and questions pertaining to the paper, and I'm there to answer your questions. I wish you all the very best of luck for your upcoming exam results for AAA, and all the best. Take good care of yourself. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.